Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, it's time for a supreme version of a spring and summertime favorite. Uberon is an 11.3% bourbon barrel-aged wheat ale from Bell's Brewery in Comstock, Michigan. If you ever go to Bell's taproom in Kalamazoo, you might get lucky enough to visit when they have an Oberon variant on tap. Now I'm talking something like a pineapple jalapeno Oberon, a mango habanero Oberon, or maybe something else along those lines. Now in the past couple years, we've started to see different variations of Oberon being bottled, distributed, and hitting shelves around us. Last year we saw Mango Oberon. This year we saw the release of Tropical Oberon. Uberon, on the other hand, is something a little bit more elusive. It shows up at festivals, occasionally in the tap room. Well, now, friends, guess what? It's being released in super limited distribution. And when I say limited, I mean like extremely limited. This is the first time in a long time I can remember going to buy a beer and only being able to purchase a single bottle. One bottle. So this bottle that you see right here, this is the only bottle that I have. Now, Bell's describes this as tasting like Oberon with a shot of bourbon dropped into it. So let's check that whole thing out. But first, we got to do that thing we do. But even before that, I want to thank my executive producers, Brian Kramer and David Jeffries, for helping to bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, maybe even just, buy me a beer like this one, super limited, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.drafttherapy.com, where you can get early access to these videos and a few other special perks available only to patrons. Take a look at the bottle. If we start from the top, we see that it has the Oberon sun on the top on the bottle cap. It's got this greenish blue color to it. As we look down, it says Uberon in different letters, different fonts. The sun, the O is the sun, the Oberon sun, just like on the bottle cap. Underneath that, it says American Wheat Ale aged in bourbon barrels. Uberon, brewed and bottled by Bell's Brewery, Incorporated in Comstock, Michigan. If we turn around to the back, we're going to read the label here. It says, when winter comes, snowbirds travel south, but this lucky batch of Oberon headed to the barrel. Uberon is a bourbon barrel-aged version of our iconic American wheat ale. It's strong, spicy, and ready to cap off the night in style. Then we have the government warning. Underneath that has all the cash deposit information. This says, the shelf life is unlimited, and it is alcohol, 11.3% alcohol by volume. As I mentioned before, this was packaged on August 25th, 2021. We find their website, bellsbeer.com. So that's what we got going on there. Let's take going to take my bottle opener here. Going to take a large snifter style glass. We're going to crack this, put a nose on it, tell you about that thing. But we'll set that cap to the side and that bottle opener. Let's put a nose on it. Oh, big bourbony notes. Got a nice sweet kind of bourbon aroma. This smells nothing like Oberon. I'll put it that. I'll just say that right now. So it smells very much, very bourbon forward. Like I'm really picking up big time on bourbon. Let's go ahead and pour this though. Really golden yellow coming out of the bottle, but collecting a little bit darker, almost to an orangey kind of quality. If we look at the head here, really nice rocky head, lots of larger bubbles, some smaller, tighter, dense ones. It's got a really appealing looking head to it. Getting about a finger and a half of head looking at that. From the middle, the nucleation on this glass, that little ring in the bottom, lots of carbonation just rising straight up through it. It has a really cool look to it. If we hold it up to the light here, that carbonation's still streaming through. It's got a bit of a copper golden, like a brownish copper golden color to it. I don't know, to you it looks maybe a little bit of a darker color than it looks to me, but to me it looks very, very filtered, nice and clear. Let's put a better nose here on the glass. Yeah, again, picking up a little bit on a citrus note, mixed in very thoroughly with that bourbon. It smells really bourbony. Like I said, there's a bit of a citrus kind of citrusness going on throughout. So let's go ahead and try it out. A really nice white head still hanging on there. Cheers. The mouthfeel is a little bit, well, I almost coughed there. The mouthfeel is a little bit on, almost on the heavier end. Like Oberon itself is usually, I think of it as being a little bit towards that medium, just light enough that it's still a bit crisp, but heavy enough that it kind of slides a little bit into that medium. And this slides a little bit heavier towards a medium. So the mouthfeel is very, it almost has a little bit more of a viscous kind of taste or quality to it than regular Oberon, but let's talk about the taste. I must not have had Oberon in a long time because this doesn't really resemble to me much of anything like Oberon, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I like Oberon, but it's something I can only have in really kind of small amounts. It's not something that I want to go, bottle after bottle after bottle or draft after draft after draft, because for me, wheat ales start to give me a little bit of a headache. They seem to dry me out much more than any other kind of beer. This one tastes very much, spending that time in the bourbon barrel adds a huge amount of bourbon characteristic. It adds a bit of a barrel characteristic to it as well. You get a bit of an oaky kind of flavor in there. As I was picking up on a bit of a citrus on the nose, this also on the finish, up front is almost like exclusively bourbon. On the finish, still has a bit of that kind of alcohol, bourbony kind of effervescence or flavor to it. It kind of sits in the background, but there's this kind of like subtle underlying citrus flavor in this beer throughout. So you get it. The bourbon's really upfront, big on the upfront. That's where you start to get that little bit of an oakiness. There's a lot more oakiness on the finish, a little bit of that kind of bourbon alcohol kind of burn to it, but lying throughout that entire taste is this kind of citrus, bright citrus quality. I have never admittedly poured a shot of bourbon into my Oberon, but this might convince me to start doing it because like I said, it's adding that bourbon quality to it. You're definitely able to tell this is bourbon barrel aged, that it spent some time in a bourbon barrel. Like I said, you get that oaky barrel kind of char quality to it as well. But you also, again, get a nice bit of citrus that is what I think adds that bit of refreshing mouthfeel to it. It has a bit of has that spiciness to it as well. So you're getting a little bit of a citrus, a little bit of a bright kind of citrus pop, and there's a lot of spiciness on the swallow, on the finish. You get a little bit more of that citrus come through, but then that bourbon kind of the bourbon barrel quality starts to then kind of mingle back in with the flavor. So you get the bourbon big up front, you get the bright citrus, you get the spicy note, then you get the a little bit of a lesser bright citrus, and then you get more of that kind of bourbon that mixes in. Again, if this is anything like a regular Oberon with a shot of bourbon poured into it, I might start doing that on a regular basis because this is really tasty. It's not something that I'd want to drink, one after another after another. Would I have liked to have gotten a 4-pack? I would have liked to have gotten a 4-pack, but I got a single. And I think for today, a single's good, but if it was something, I would want to sit on this. This is unlimited shelf life. I'd like to see what this kind of tastes like or kind of equals out to in the winter when it gets a little bit cooler. I think it'd be a nice nightcap because it has those kind of citrusy qualities. It's not so heavy as something like a stout that you would expect more to be in a bourbon barrel. But I can see why this is very limited, and I think this, although I might not be able to get another bottle of this will cause me to do a little bit more experimentation with Oberon and with a shot of bourbon. All right, friends, that has been Uberon from Bell's Brewery. Have you had this one before? Have you had it yet? Did you maybe have it in the tap room? And were you able to find it somewhere other than Bell's General Store where you could pick up a 4-pack? If so, let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell. Because I'm here talking about beer twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you, and you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. I mean, that makes sense, right? So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer. Support your local breweries. These guys are in Comstock, Michigan. And most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Cheers.